Pastor Chris did last week, I'm going to be following along with our daily Bible reading plan. If you don't have that plan, you can go on our website and you can find it there. And in most of our days, I'm going to be reading from the Psalm of the day that we have in our plan. And today, we're going to start with Psalm 59. So Psalm 59, it's a song of David when Saul sent men to his house in order to lie in wait for David to come outside and for them to kill him. So Saul, he hated David. He wanted him dead, so he sends his men out there and he says, wait for him to come outside and then you need to kill him. So David, he had enemies that were trying to kill him at the time. And we probably don't have that happening to us right now, at least I hope not. But right now, we are certainly faced with some scary and difficult times. Now, I love this psalm because David provides us with a sort of template to follow whenever we're tempted to fear. So David starts off this psalm by simply saying to the Lord, deliver me from my enemies, O God. He's asking God for protection. And then in verse 3, David says, they lie in wait for me. Now these enemies, they're just waiting for him. They're outside his house and they're waiting for him to come outside so they can take his life. And they just seem to be looming over him, just threatening him, just scaring him, waiting to pounce. And I know that there are times in my life when I'm going through something difficult, whenever I'm facing something scary, and it just seems to be looming over me, like this darkness that's just over me. It's scaring me, it's threatening me. And then in verse 5, David says, you, Lord God of hosts, are God of Israel. Now this is where we can see David start to kind of fight back against his fears. Well, how does he start? He starts by reminding himself about who God is. He says, Lord God of Israel. His God is the God of Israel. Our God is the God of Israel. David is thinking back to all the times that God delivered his people from certain death and disaster and all the things that we can read about in the Old Testament. God delivered his people from those things, and David is definitely thinking back to those things in the past. And when we are faced with troubling times, we need to remember who our God is, just like David did. We need to remember God is powerful. Our God is sovereign. He is always in control. And remembering God in our hard times, it can give us peace and it can give us strength and comfort. And it's not just our peace and our comfort. We're getting God's own peace and God's own comfort that he's giving to us. Now, verse 6, David says, each evening they come back, howling like dogs. His threat is not going away. And I know sometimes it might feel like our troubles are just with us for weeks, for months, even years, for such a long time. But we must remember that our God is with us too. He is more powerful than our troubles. He's always with us. Now, verse 8, David says, but you, O Lord, you laugh at them. You hold all the nations in derision. In this, it just shows how powerful and how sovereign our God is. He's laughing at all those things that rise up against him and his people. He's laughing because they actually think they can get the best of him. He's saying, you think this is scary? Do you know who I am? It's not mocking in a sinful way, of course, because he's God, but he's saying, you have nothing on me. Your troubles have nothing on me. And we need to remember that. We need to remember that God is powerful. God is sovereign. And he is with us. He's helping us. Now in verse 9, David says, O my strength, O God, you are my fortress. God was David's strength and fortress. David ran straight to God in times of trouble. Where do you run when you're afraid? Where do you go? Who do you turn to? And we should all run to God. We should run to God, the God of all comfort. God who is infinitely more powerful than anything or anyone else. Now, verse 10, David says, my God in his steadfast love will meet me. We can be confident that God in his steadfast love will meet us. He is there with us. His love does not waver. His love does not run out. He meets us in our times of trouble because he loves us. Now, verses 16 and 17, I'm going to read these. But I will sing of your strength. I will sing aloud of your steadfast love in the morning. For you have been to me a fortress and a refuge in the day of my distress. O my strength, I will sing praises to you. For you, O God, are my fortress, the God who shows me steadfast love. Now, in the midst of these troubles, David is resolved to sing of God's strength and his love. He's praising God for what he's done, for how God has protected him, how God has given him peace. But this is also serving as a reminder for David. He's singing to God out of worship, but singing these words, it also reminds him about God and who he is. It keeps all these things fresh on his mind. And, like I said before, I know right now we might be tempted to fear because of everything that's happening, but let's remember who God is. Let's remember his power, his sovereignty, his love, and let's keep running to him when we're afraid. Let's not run to anyone else or anything else. Let's go to God, and let's keep singing our praises to him. He's the God of all comfort, and he will comfort you when you're afraid. That's all I have for tonight, everyone, and I'll see you again tomorrow at the same time.